culture, gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Gershman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
Hello, everyone. This is Ray Sanders from the Etiquette Show. We have another wonderful edition today. We have a special guest, Tom, and we're anxious to hear what he says on our dating-oriented show. So take it away, Ruth.
Hi, it's Ruth from the Etiquette Show, and our guest for today is a Jersey boy trying to make it in the city. Let us all give a warm welcome to Tom.
Awesome, Tom. So great to be with you today. So we were sort of talking a little bit before the show, and you had at least two amazing stories to tell us. One involved sort of a guy you met, I guess it was on Tinder, and who were going to go out on a date for pizza. So tell us a little bit about that story, where it sounded like a very intriguing, engaging story. So tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, I want to start off by saying in the gay community, there's so many like ghosting, so many like flaking. So I matched with this guy called Kevin, and his bio said like, "Oh, I hate the flakes on this app," and I was like, "Perfect, me too. I don't want to flake anymore, right? No more flakes. I just want to find someone." So then he said, "Okay, I'm in Brooklyn," and at this time I lived in Jersey, so I was like, "Ooh, it's kind of far. So let's meet in the middle. We can go like Little Italy." He likes pizza, so I was like, perfect. We can go meet halfway in Little Italy. Mm-hmm. Then he's like, "No, I'd rather you pick me up." So I said, like, I have a car, but you know, George Washington Bridge toll is $16. Triborough is another $9. Mm-hmm. So I did the math, and it would be $34. And I was like, Evan, like, I can't. Like, that's a lot of money. And he's like, "Oh,
dating is expensive."
Right? It is. I don't even know how much pizza, or hopefully dollar pizza. I don't know. So then I drive all the way out there, and I get to his apartment, and I said, "Kevin, I'm here." And he said, he looked at it. He read the message and didn't respond. So I was like, "Hey, Kevin, like, what's happening?" And he read it again and still didn't respond.
No.
I called him up, and it wasn't going through. And then I texted him again, and then the messages were going green, so he must have talked to me. So I was like, I just spent $34 to drive out here, and he promised to pay me. So I went up to his apartment, and it was ringing every door. Yeah, he lived in like a 6th-floor story walk up, so I was pressing all the buttons. I was like, "Where's Kevin? I gotta find Kevin. He owes me money." Like, I don't care about the date. I don't care about the pizza. I just want the toll. No one answered. No one helped. I couldn't find Kevin. So then I was driving back, all sad. And I happened to be talking to another guy from Tinder. And he was like, "I'm in the Heights right now. Like, are you down to hang out?" And I'm like, I was promised some pizza tonight. I didn't really tell him that. I was like, "I'm still looking for some pizza." So I was like, "You want to hang out?" And he's like, "Yep." I met up with him, went on a date. We walked in the park, got some pizza. It happened to be a good night.
Well, that's awesome. It's awesome how things kind of like turn around when you have a positive attitude, and it's like the whole universe saying, "This guy needs some pizza. We can't just let him go back home by himself. He's got to have some pizza."
I was talking to my best friend. I was like, "I'm done with guys. Like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore." And then sure enough, Jose was like, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey."
So what kind of pizza did you end up having? What were you saying, Ruth?
And then he was like, "Oops, I'm not done." Universe.
Yeah, I was like, maybe there's one more chance.
Yeah.
So what kind of pizza did you end up having?
I just do plain, you know.
Plain, okay.
Yeah.
Just like cheese, no pepperoni, just cheese.
Sometimes I do, but sometimes I try to do like meatless. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what is this? What has happened? Because I know about ghosting and all that stuff, and it goes on and just dating. But why would it happen more in the gay community? Do you have any insight on that?
Actually, I don't want to say that. Well, it happens to all my friends too.
Yeah.
But I feel like this happened more since the pandemic.
Okay.
I don't know what changed, but this never used to happen to me like 2 years ago. But now, so many times I text my best friend. I'm like, "I'm about to meet up with this guy tonight. We have a date planned." This actually happened to me yesterday, which is so bad.
Yesterday.
I had plans to go hang out with this guy last night, but then right before he's like, "Oh, I'm tired," and I'm like, "I canceled all plans this Friday to hang out with you," and then you cancel. I'm like, I don't know.
So what is it? So are they thinking that, well, maybe is this guy not vaccinated enough? Maybe he didn't get his booster
I'm
shot?
vaccinated. I'm a Moderna. Like, I'm good. I don't know. Ray, you tell me.
I have no idea. You seem to be like a charismatic, high energy guy. Why would people just be flaky? I mean, if you didn't have social skills or whatever, like I don't understand why that's happening.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's bizarre. So what about the second story? What happened to you when you went to Puerto Rico and this happened to you? Tell us about that Puerto Rican trip.
Okay. So I was bored. So on like a Tuesday, I bought a ticket on a Thursday to move out to Puerto Rico. I packed everything, said goodbye to my family, moved because I was done living here. So then I moved out to PR, met a guy there on vacation. You know, oh, we're so crazy about each other, but he lives in Tampa, Florida. And I was like, I live in PR, so you know, we talked every day, called, FaceTimed, and I was like, oh, I would tell my friends he's the one. Then I ended up moving back here to New York. But this guy Jesus was like, I want you to visit me, and I was like, okay, like I'll visit you. I bought a ticket. I got an Airbnb that we can stay at and everything. I was so ready.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks before, he's like, oh, you can still come to Tampa, but I'm not going to be here. I'm going to go somewhere else that weekend.
Oh.
And like, no sorry, really, just like, yeah, like, let me know how Tampa is. So I was so furious. I ended up canceling my ticket. Airbnb, I got a full refund, but I only got credit for the airline, so I need to take another trip soon. But yeah, I ended up, it's kind of messed up, but I waited to his birthday, which was like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, happy birthday, Jesus, I got you a present. And he's like, what is it? And I was like, you gotta guess what it is. And then by that time, I just blocked him on everything.
He got his payback. He's getting his payback for like, you know.
Guess. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
I told my friends, and they're like, that's so messed up. I'm like, I don't know.
So how did he react to that? Like, what happened? Like, you know, like you blocked him, and wasn't he trying to contact you again?
Well, I was embarrassed because I ended up not blocking him on everything.
Okay.
And then he texted me. He's like, "You're the sweetest person ever," and I'm over here blocking him on everything.
Yeah.
So then I was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, but you gotta guess what it is." And then I blocked him on that too.
Oh, okay.
Savage.
Well, he's
So
got. Well, I
savage.
mean, there's something for him to think about anyway. You know, like he can't be like letting you just go to Tampa Bay and like just.
Exactly.
That's a big trip. It's not like you're just going to like the Bronx or like Long Island. You're going to like all the way across the country, and he's like not caring of all the investment you're making.
Exactly, like, and I don't know if this asking too much, but he should have been like, "Oh, if you can't get a full refund, I'll like pay for it," or "Sorry."
Exactly. Yeah.
He said.
He should have like offered some money to, you know, so a little bit or something. You know, he can't just be allowing you to go there and just tell me how Tampa is and whatever.
Exactly.
That's not good, you know. And you know, and the funny thing is that it sounded as if when he tried to contact you, he wasn't apologetic. He just forgot about it afterwards.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I'm so dumb." And in my mind, I was like, "Yes, you are."
Yeah. Yeah. So I noticed that when you sent, you know, we're talking about the dating stories, you seem to try to learn lessons from your dating experiences. So what was the first lesson you learned from the first one with the guy with the pizza? Knowing them more, knowing the person a little bit more? Is that your lesson, I believe?
I guess knowing them more, if they're going to say they're going to give you money, like, you better know me first, or like cash at me. So I'm not spending tolls, I'm not spending money before a date anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could apply to Jesus too, because I spent all that money and look at me.
Exactly. I find out in terms of dating is good for, especially if you're traveling, for both people to make an investment in the whole process.
Yeah.
Because I find if you're traveling all the way to them, then they're not valuing you. I mean, in your mind is like, I'm being like the chivalrous, but I find they're like, well, who's this loser that traveled all the way to see me? I'm just gonna diss him and do whatever.
And time is money, so.
Exactly. I mean, you can't just be wasting money. I mean, it's still you're making the effort, but at least that resolved itself a little bit by meeting somebody else.
Yeah.
And you said what was do you learn a lesson from the second one too, with that guy who was kind of like, the Tampa Bay or the Tampa Bay guy?
I don't know. I think I learned these lessons, but here I was yesterday getting my hopes up for a guy.
Yeah. Well, it's good to learn be mindful, but you can't as long as you're open to love or dating or relationships, you open up your vulnerabilities. You can't protect yourself from something negative happening all the time. Unless you just lock yourself in your apartment. That's the only way you can really prevent these potential negative experiences. But good to have each one in the back of your mind. So do you have any other interesting dating experience to tell us about? Any cool experiences?
I wish I could tell you some good ones. These all seem to be sad, right?
Any funny ones or sad ones? We're open to anything that you think you're learning a lesson, you want to inspire others when they're kind of dating. That's going to be cool for us. That you're comfortable about talking about. What you're comfortable about talking about?
I don't know. Ever since I've been here, I haven't really got many dates.
So how do you find okay, so you move, you're in Jersey. Where do you move from?
I'm in Harlem now.
Harlem, okay, Harlem. So since you've been in Harlem, you haven't gotten any dates?
No.
Not many dates. Hasn't been a wonderful experiences moving in Harlem.
I love Harlem. I love the people around here, friends and stuff like that. But dating hasn't been going good.
Hasn't been going good. Was it better in Jersey?
It wasn't good there either.
So so you mostly meet people from Tinder and those type of apps, or where are all the ways you try to meet people?
Before COVID, I would just go to bars. I would go to Hell's Kitchen and stuff like that, like the Ritz. But with COVID, it's kind of harder, so I've been just sticking to Tinder.
Tinder, okay, Tinder, okay, because Tinder's definitely a huge app and stuff, and lots of opportunities to date people and meet and stuff, and definitely, I mean, it's a looks-driven app. So if you're good looking, then you look like a good-looking guy, then it's going to be pretty open. If you're not that good-looking, or then it's going to be a little bit more difficult for people that way. And so during the COVID and stuff like that, it's more, but I guess it's taking people more onto the online scene because you can't really meet people the same way in bars and all sorts of stuff like that. So, and is any kind of other funny story? How have you find the experience of the pandemic so far? Do you find it kind of stressful, or everything is cool with you? And so how do you find it so far in the city?
I'm okay. I'm not that stressful of a person. So when these happen, I just text my best friend oh, it happened again. You'll never believe it. But sure enough, by next week, I'll be on Tinder again, looking for someone else. So I don't really take it personal. So I just keep it going.
So in terms of Tinder, is your objective just to meet cool guys, or are you looking at a long-term relationship, or you're kind of open to either one?
Oh no, I'm strictly just to meet people. If it works out, it does. We could just be friends.
Okay. So that's kind of relaxed. If nobody's feeling pressured by you, not saying, "Oh, this guy is stressing me out. He wants to serious marriage, whatever. I don't want to be with him. Just chilling. We're being a relaxed guy. No pressure on the other people." Yeah. Well, I guess it's just the culture. People you never can tell what goes on in their head. They just want to play. I find in online dating, you have people playing so many games. They're ghosting. I don't understand ghosting, you seem to be connecting with the person, and just when everything is going fantastic, then it's you don't hear from them. I don't understand that kind of mentality, this ghosting business. And it's just all kinds of stuff, people just I think people just do things the way they get away with it. I don't know, there's some crazy dating psychology out there.
Hmm.
So what do you think of all this, Ruth? What do you think of all this
I was wondering
personal
if you were on.
experience?
I was wondering if you were on Tinder, Ray.
Me, Tinder? Oh, I try like Tinder, but actually I tried Tinder as an experiment because I find I like to know more about the person, and I meet a lot of people for chatting and stuff, but I'm
Yeah.
convinced that some of those people on Tinder, I don't know whether they're real because it's just bizarre. So I'm glad to know that there are at least some people that Tom has confirmed that are real on there who are actually real people. But you see these
Oh,
people
they're
that,
real.
yeah,
You gotta watch out for the catfish.
catfish, yeah, there's a lot of catfishing. People, I don't understand this catfishing mentality. People who are like, you see this great picture of somebody, and they're actually, I don't know, there's somebody else. There's somebody that's pretending to be somebody else, and you're texting a pretend person. Maybe it's a big, huge 500-pound trucker in Nigeria, and is pretending to be a 25-year-old runway model in Long Island. And this mentality, it's not, this catfishing is like a bizarre thing. What do you think about catfishing, Tom?
Oh, it's happened to me. It's brutal. This time,
Oh,
I'm always like, send me a picture right now, with like a spoon or something like that, so I know
Yeah.
they can use like an online picture.
Huh. I'm very, anytime I meet somebody, the telltale sign is that they look like, they're almost a Photoshopped person, and they're very
Hmm.
enthusiastic. I want to find out, and as soon as they start telling me about, oh, let's connect in WhatsApp and stuff like that, I know some kind of scamming going on. Some of those kind of apps lend itself to people to pretend easier and stuff like that. So I want to connect with them in like Skype or Google Meetup, anything which I'm able to make sure they're actually a real person.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of fake stuff going on. But I'm congratulations for those people who are actually in solid relationships because they don't have to worry about all this games and stuff going on. But that's
Exactly. They don't know how easy that is.
yeah.
they don't know how easy it is, and it's like the games keep to get more complicated. It's like
Yeah.
just when you think you've learned all the games, you'll find somebody who will just do something even
They just
worse, crazy.
evolve.
Yeah, it's like everybody keeps upping the ante. So it's like week to week, month to month, the games become more sophisticated. I don't understand how people have time for those kind of games.
I don't personally.
Yeah, if you're like a real authentic person, which you seem to be, Tom, real authentic person, you're gonna have like a hard time because there's so many people that pretend to be real and authentic that aren't. I mean, there's also online dating lends itself to all these kind of cyber persona people pretending to be something they're not. You have the ghosters, you got the catfishers, you got all kinds of fakes, people just doing stuff just for their ego purposes.
Hmm.
They're just wasting time. We're just wasting time.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that do end up getting married though from the app, like those like fairy tale stories.
Yeah, well, those people who do get success stories, they'll end up keep driving us looking for those success stories and not finding like what is going on here. My best friend and my other friend got along this fabulous supermodel. Why can't I find a supermodel too?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, it's like what? So it's like drives. I find Tinder just drives frustration because you just see. I mean, Tinder has all kinds of these model people, and it's like holy mackerel. It's like you have like reach that pot of gold and then a rainbow, and you end up that you have to really sift through the sand in order to find the gold chunks in there.
Use a lot of frogs to get to the friends.
Frogs, fakes, people who are just not serious, time wasters, psychos, crazy people you just like, they're just serial daters. You find somebody real, but you find out they'll just, like one of my friends told me that their friend for 1 year, went on 400 dates.
Wow.
Like, how 400
Exhausting.
That's more than one a day.
Yeah, because they wanted to get like free dinners. They wanted to get like free whatever. That means that if there's just 365 days in a year, some of those days they're having like an afternoon date, they're having like an evening date, and yeah, That's serious. So you know that there's some people there who are just like, and I met had those people in POF, whatever. They're just like, how's the pandemic been? Okay, well, it's been good for me because, I've got a lot of dinners. People, they just open. Some people are very open like that. They don't have to pay for there's some people who don't have to actually pay for their food because they can just live on dates because so many guys they're willing to give dates or whatever. Hello, everyone. We're here today for another amazing edition of the Etiquette Show. We have a fabulous guest today, Miss April Davis, to talk about her both her amazing insights into the online dating world and a fabulous, interesting, wonderful matchmaking service she's also doing, which I'm sure you as viewers are anxious to know more information about. So take it away, Ruth.
Hello, everyone. It's Ruth Ramos from The Etiquette Show. Our guest for today is a hardworking small-town girl with big city dreams. She is an MBA graduate by the age of 20, working her way up a Fortune 500 company and also pursued modeling on the side. She was a matchmaker for years for her own circle of friends and acquaintances. She took her professional background in process improvement and applied it into the dating industry to create Luma Luxury Matchmaking. Today, she will be discussing dating tips and advice to help singles navigate through this confusing but yet wonderful time. Let us all welcome to the show, April Davis.
Thank you very much, Miss April Davis, for joining us today on the Etiquette Show. So we're definitely wanting to know about your insights into the online dating world and your matchmaking service. But first of all, we're very much enthusiastic to hear about how you started in terms of helping your friends in terms of personal matchmaking and how it helped provide you with the experience and the insights to be the professional matchmaker you are today. So can you sort of elaborate on sort of your personal experience in terms of helping your friends?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, first of all. And yes, when I was 16, I set up the first couple that I ever had that ended up getting married. And from there, I just was always a connector and also found myself, being the go-to person for people that are looking for advice and just, insights around dating and relationships. And then my husband is a divorce attorney, so it's kind of a different, he has a different perspective on things, and we were always discussing relationships. And so I got the idea of, with matchmaking and setting people up based on values and making sure they're aligned properly before they end up walking down the aisle and, potentially getting divorced because they may be mismatched. So I basically, the first year after I started the company, I just met with people. I didn't take on any paying clients. I just was building up my database and, setting up people and just really, working out all the processes behind our procedures and everything. And from there, it's just grown and snowballed. We were an Inc. 5000 company last year, so it's been exciting to say the least. Yeah.
Awesome. So you really catapulted your success and your own sort of your personal sort of experience really catapulted you to be in a very successful company today.
Exactly.
So I guess being married to a divorce attorney, I guess you would have special intimate insight on, how people end up being divorced, and that sort of helps you sort of build more solid relationships for people who want more long-term solid relationships then, that sort of insight?
Right. I think it's important for people to look at what are their core values, because so often people will fall in love and it's a love-based relationship. And, you don't see red flags with rose-colored goggles, right? And so
Exactly.
we really try to focus on things that we know that are going to inhibit their happiness long-term. And so therefore we'll go into, okay, do you want a family? What's religion for you? What, all those core fundamentals, and then match appropriately, because a lot of times people think, well, I can get over that. I'll be able to work through that. And then those ultimately end up being the reason why they get divorced in the long run, because those are really important issues. But it's hard when you're in the midst of a relationship, when you love someone, it's hard to walk away, and especially when you still like and respect each other. So.
Definitely. So what are you seeing in terms of challenges and experiences that people are having with dating and finding long-term relationships in the sort of this whole sort of pandemic craziness that we're all experiencing? Like, what sort of trends and what have you been noticing just in general?
Well, you have very different perspectives, first of all, on the vaccine and just COVID prevention in general. So that's become another layer that we have had to match on, where it wasn't really something to think about before. And so it just creates more complexity and challenges for people finding the right kind of person. But I mean, when it was during lockdown, it was, of course, a lot more difficult. People weren't getting out. A lot of people had just removed themselves from the dating pool altogether. And while others that were looking to still meet someone, they had to resort to a lot of digital formats. So we set up a lot of people for FaceTime, Skype, Zoom dates and stuff. And that way they could get to know each other and see each other before they decided to take the next step and actually meet in person or something.
Awesome. So in terms of the challenges you were mentioning, are those challenges like people who are double vaccinated, wanting to make sure they're with someone double vaccinated, or are they more like other types of challenges that aside from that? Like,
it's somewhat political. There's some, of course, after last year's election, and during last year's election, there was very divisive amongst everyone in this country, really. And then you have people that aren't as worried about COVID, and then others that are maybe immune compromised, so they're extremely worried. So you just, aligning those kinds of beliefs and again, this was something that didn't really exist a couple of years ago. So.
So people are saying, don't vote, don't set me up with someone who voted for X. No way I'm can be in a long-term relationship with them.
Oh yeah,
There's
a lot of that, but also now it's not just political, it's also vaccine. I'll only date somebody that's vaccinated or at least believes in it or whatever, that might be.
Oh, that makes your kind of job a little bit more challenged, but based upon your success, you've been really rising to the challenge.
Yeah, well, we only work with a few clients at a time, so it's very one-on-one and personalized. And that way we can really get to know our clients and then act as basically, we're looking at interviewing people on their behalf. And then if we think they're a good fit, then we will set them up on a date. So it's kind of like we're an extension of our clients doing all the legwork for them.
So when I went on your website, it also seems that you have, you also serve like LGBTQ clients. I saw there particular areas for people who are LGBTQ to select if they're sort of gay, lesbian, or transgender. So how sort of active or big are those parts of your service compared to your other parts of your service?
Well, first of all, the LGBTQ community is a small percent of the overall population. So it's kind of, I would say it's a higher percent for us of the clients that we work with, because not every matchmaker works with the LGBTQ community, but it is, it's a smaller percent of overall, in the overall population. And we take clients on a case-by-case basis. So it really depends on the client, who they are, what they're looking for, how realistic are their expectations, and do we have potential matches for them ultimately. So it just depends.
So in terms of the application process, before you take on a client, you first determine what your success will be before you actually take them on.
Right. We want to make sure that we have potential viable matches for them, and we are aligned with what we're looking for from both the sides. So if somebody's really restrictive on, say, geography, or it could be height, or different things like that, it could be a lot more difficult. And I'll just say, too, in general, those people are not as successful in dating because they've narrowed their mindset so much that they think that, oh, I need somebody that's like this, and this in order for me to fall in love. And the reality is that's not how love works. We can be surprised, and you can't judge it by its cover. You never know who you may fall in love with. You can be, like I said, pleasantly surprised. And, but you have to have an open mind to it, and you will not be successful, and it won't work if you are closed-minded. And so that's what I found, that people that come with this laundry list, they're typically the ones that they're just not going to be successful, whether it's with us or just anyone in general in the world. So.
Yeah. So I guess you provide a sort of, is dating coaching a part of your service, where somebody maybe has overly ambitious expectations and you try to ground them in order to be a little bit more realistic? Or is that a part of your service, or you don't really try to get into that area?
Absolutely it is, because it's part of what makes us successful and the client successful, right? Is getting that feedback. And, a lot of times all we know is what our experiences are. And so when you work with somebody that does this day in and day out, and has all the people on my team, we have an average of 14 years of experience amongst the team. So they know, they've seen it, they've seen what works, and it's important to get that perspective. And, ultimately we're their biggest cheerleaders. We want them to be successful. We're not going to set them up with somebody that we think is going to be a waste of time and not a good match. We want them to ultimately find the one and fall in love, but they have to be open to it. Sometimes I meet people and I'm like, I know they're going to find someone regardless, because they love everyone. They have an open mind. They see the positive in people. And it's easy to rip people apart and find something wrong with anyone, right? And so that's the mindset that we really need to, we'll have to help some people to shift, because they'll, pick apart and, dissect everything and take something that is really just not a big deal at all and turn it into, oh, this is a negative because he has long hair or she has long hair or something like that. And like, okay, well, some people like that, and it's just being able to, again, open up our mind and be really ready for love and open to where that could come from.
Awesome. So it's good that, definitely, a lot of people out there, they're single because maybe they're a little bit too demanding, or maybe it's important for a service like yours to sort of open their mind out to the possibilities if they were able to be less restrictive in their approach. But what about, for example, there's many people out there. Some people have they're very sort of religious specific. I need to meet someone who is like Jewish, Hindu, or a Christian who is a Baptist. And there's some people who are also race specific, which is has been a controversy for some people. They only want to date people of a certain race. So for those people, do you sort of other characteristics like those you kind of cater to, or if they're getting specific like that, you try to coach them to be more open-minded to different people, or you just simply try to say that's not really our kind of service? We're not going to find you someone of this religion, of this race. How do you sort of handle those sort of demands like that?
Yeah, we accommodate pretty much anything that we need to for our clients, and within reason. But something like religion is really important, because if you're going to have children and raise them, and your goal is to raise them in a certain religion, you need to be with somebody that supports that. Maybe they aren't necessarily the same religion, but they need to be supportive of your religion. And for some people, their families might just disown them if they marry outside of their religion. So it is really important. And so therefore, again, it's on a case-by-case basis. So if we think we can accommodate, then we will. But if it's so rare, we do a lot of recruiting, and we're more of a personal search firm. And just like a recruiter works in the in the business world, that's how we are, but for dating. And so there's ways that we can find people and we can recruit people. And then we also have alliances with other matchmakers too. So we can always tap into that if needed, where they might know someone. So that is a good match. And then with regards to like race, again, it's on a case by case basis. You know, we find though that there's people will say one thing, but there's always an exception, you know, so, so a lot of times we can get people to be more open.
Yeah, so so I guess somebody goes to your service, you're able to tap onto a international network, I guess, of matchmakers. Is it across the United States or is it international in terms of who, like, is someone from New York City, are they going to potentially find a match from somebody from Paris, or like how does that work in terms of your international or
Well,
national network?
if that's what they want, we have the option to do that, just that. It again, it depends on the individual and if we think we have contacts that can find what they're looking for. But it's everything. Everyone's unique, that's for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So in terms of sort of your before you became like the professional matchmaker that you are today, are there any sort of experiences you had as a sort of a personal matchmaker to your friends, which really sort of opened your eye out to, you know, like really enlightened you, or was you found humorous, or you found interesting that really inspired you to be who you are today? Like any sort of particular experiences, without necessarily naming names, of course, but any sort of experiences or any successes in terms of a very specific success which sort of gave you the inspiration to be who you are today professionally?
To go after this, you know,
Yeah.
I had set up and helped coach many clients or many friends of mine even before I started the company. And my favorite is this one couple. I had worked with the gal, and I knew the gentleman, and I knew they were both single and around the same age and divorced. Both were divorced, and you could just see that their paths and their overall vibe was similar and aligned, and just I could also tell that they would probably both be attracted to each other because they're kind of the same level of attractiveness and everything. And so I had set them up, and they ended up getting married. And they both had teenage kids, which was kind of, that can be really challenging to, bring those two types of families together. And they stayed together for years until he unfortunately passed away from cancer. But it was pretty neat to see a success like that come out of it. And it was just, and to make an introduction, it's really one of the easiest things that you can do that really changes people's lives. Just astronomically, because if you think about it, how some of the people that are closest to you, how did you meet them? Chances are a lot of them were through someone else, and someone took that initiative. And good people know good people. And I always say I've matched people, whether it was for romance or business or even just friendships, and it's a really cool way to make an impact on somebody's life, and it's just an introduction.
So I guess you must find a lot of satisfaction in terms of all the success stories you've had, not just personally, but now professionally, in terms of people who, date and eventually marry. So I guess a lot of personal satisfaction you get from day-to-day coming to your job and knowing who else you could potentially match and support and create a more happiness in the world.
Right. It is very rewarding. And, whenever I see somebody maybe sitting on a park bench alone, or going for a walk alone, I want to so bad just go up to them, give them my card. And because, we're social creatures. We're meant to be with each other. And yes, some people are introverted and they appreciate their time alone, but we do need human interaction and we do need each other. And it breaks my heart when I see or see people that are lonely, and I just want to make an introduction and bring people together and help them to be happy.
Awesome. Well, it's very fabulous that you really take things at a personal level in terms of professional and personal interest, professional commitment and personal interest to want to make people's lives happier and connect with other people and, and bring joy to them and that sort of connection with each other. Because, the statistic I heard that people who are married and tend to have longer lives than more fulfilling lives than people who are single in the long term. So definitely, you're bringing hopefully longevity to the people who you're bringing together as well, that added longevity.
Well, and hopefully happiness. So
happiness,
definitely. If they aren't happy, hopefully they do something about it so they can change their situation and be with somebody that they are happy with.
So how do you find, there's a lot of different matchmaking services out there today. What do you find is, and you've become a successful company, what differs you from the plethora of other matchmaking services that makes you different, and what makes me, I want to go to Luma and not these other services? Like, are there any sort of unique approaches or unique services you provide compared to all the other services out there like yours?
Yeah, well, Luma is truly a search firm. We're not just a dating service that just throws people together on a bunch of dates. We have a database that anyone can join and be considered as a match to our clients. There's no charge for that. All people have to do is just go to the website and fill out the form, and then they can be put into our pool of potential matches. And that way we have a lot of people to choose from when we're looking for a good match to our clients. We want as many potential options, as possible, because I don't want to just limit it to, who's another client perhaps, because our clients are, a lot of times they're picky in particular. And so we need as many great options as possible. And then another big thing is just our Luma team. Like I said, they have on average 14 years of experience each. And we only take on a few clients, anywhere from 15 to 20 clients per matchmaker at a time. So it's really one-on-one and customized. And that way they're getting, that type of service and the coaching. All of the matchmakers have date coaching training. And we're big into continuous improvement and continuous learning. That's my background is in it's in a lot of it's like training and making things streamlined and getting better all the time. We're always looking for ways to improve. And so we're apply that to dating, of course. And the other thing I think is just the passion overall. And like I said, with everyone having so much experience, that they're very dedicated and passionate about what we do. And I think that's really important. So we go above and beyond for our clients. It's not just setting them up on a date. If we see somebody, okay, they might need a haircut, we're going to hook them up with suggestions and a stylist if they need a stylist, maybe a photo shoot if they need a photo shoot. It could be health coaching or whatever it is that we see might be inhibiting them from being successful in this, and might just help improve their odds a little bit. It could be just, 10% improvement could make a big difference ultimately in helping them to get what they want. And so we have our connections and we have ways of getting that accomplished.
So do you have a question for April? Ruth?
It's like a makeover.
We do that sometimes for people.
I wonder how did the dating scene change during the pandemic with your experience in the company?
We had, so we went from being really busy, first of all, to things were pretty quiet in March and April of 2020. And then everyone was scared, right? The stock market was crashing, everything was just crazy, and we didn't know what was going on. So then after that, things started opening up a little bit more in June. And depending on the state, we're a national company, so we have clients all over the country. And it really depends on which state you're in. So, okay, for example, Texas and Florida were very much open and people were still dating. And we just would accommodate and do a lot more dates virtually and doing whether it was Zoom or FaceTime. So we had to teach a lot of our clients about those different on how to do it. So we would practice with them on how to have a good call and make sure they're positioning the phone correctly and having good lighting and stuff to put them in the best light. And then I had a lot of other little tips that people can use, whether it's lighting a candle or having a glass of wine, even when you're in that date, because you want to, help yourself to relax. And then just, having fun and having a good conversation with somebody. But like I said, we're social creatures. We need interaction. And so I think a lot of people still, they, even though it was difficult and, COVID and everything was happening, they still wanted to find and, connect with someone. And so a lot of times it was just, we would set up that first date, and then from there they could decide to meet in person and, take it from there, or meet outside maybe. Well, we had a lot of like ice cream and a walk dates and just stuff, activities, picnics and stuff that they could do outside.
So
That's great.
Awesome. So yeah, so feel free to jump in, Ruth, anytime you have any more sort of questions, definitely, or comments. So April, so do you have, like, in terms of your matchmaking, there have been sort of some success of people who are sort of more long distance, like people in different cities, like, like Dallas and somebody in New York, or are they mostly like in the city themselves in terms of the matchmaking? Like, how does that work for people who are in the same city versus, like, would they say, okay, I'm open to somebody from a different city, or how would that work for people who are like maybe open to long distance versus people who are not?
Yeah, a lot of people are open to dating outside, especially nowadays because everyone's working remotely. So it's really changed, and a lot of people are moving. It's really had an impact on just overall society. And so there's a lot of people that are open to it. And if they're really particular about what kind of person they're looking for, they're willing to compromise on certain things. So a long distance relationship, while it's not ideal, it's not also forever. So you can, things can change and you can move. And we've seen that happen a lot with couples that are successful, and they maybe date long distance for a little bit, but then ultimately somebody moves or makes some accommodations.
That's amazing. And I mean, it's awesome that you are sort of inspire people to be open-minded, because some people, I mean, I've heard success stories of people who are long distance who definitely have, moved at some point and stuff. But, there's some people who say, oh, I don't want to, there's a lot of people that don't even want to date people across the city. Oh, like, yeah, it's too far, 10 miles from me or whatever. So definitely it's good that you're sort of working on people to think of the possibilities rather than just being closed-minded.
Right. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what do you want ultimately? Do you want just a relationship that's convenient, or do you want the right person that you really enjoy being with? And then for the right person, you'll move mountains. Love will move mountains.
Awesome. So, like, are you finding, like, aside from people who are, frustrated with the pandemic, are you also finding that there are people who may be coming to you who are frustrated with this growing sort of online dating culture, or swipe to the left, swipe to the right? They're not really they're finding people who they're maybe very ephemerally, physically attracted to, but there's just like a lot of choices which lead to nowhere. Like, are you getting people frustrated with that type of online dating culture?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a percent of relationships actually start from online dating. And the number one way to meet somebody is still through someone else. And so what ends up happening is we've created this society that's kind of like Amazon, right? We know that whatever we want, we can just go find it on Amazon, and we can order exactly what we want. And so when people, they go out on a date that maybe through an app, and they're like, yeah, this person's nice, but I've heard stories of people on dates that are, maybe the person goes to the bathroom and they pull out their app and they start swiping some more. So they're not really committing, because they know there's more out there. There's plenty of fish in the sea, and they're not really looking for that true connection. So a lot of the people that come to us they're over that. They want somebody that really wants a true connection and commitment ultimately. And they're just tired of the nonsense, basically. So it's become it's a huge issue. And I see it only getting worse for the younger generations, because they know like, oh, well, I can just go back online and find somebody else and replace this person. They're disposable and they're not truly ever connecting with anyone. And it's a shame because that we're missing a big part of what makes us happy and what makes us humans, really, is that we have that social interaction and connection with each other. So it's definitely an issue, to say the least. Not only an issue in helping for people to find the right one, but just expectations, because we all know people can say whatever online, they can look however, they can put whatever filter they want, and it's not reality.
Yeah, I just find it, like observing online dating culture, that it's like a revolving door of culture, like people, and it's like a certain amount of like lack of sincerity. People who are sort of try to pretend that whoever they're speaking to, that's the only one they're speaking to, yet they're juggling like many people, and it's like they never get satisfied. I know one person I met, and this is a professional, I mean, he's like was boasting that he's like juggling 6 different ladies and all of them think that they're the one. And I mean, that's like a very negative experience if you're looking for something sincere. That sort of juggling culture of, oh yeah, you're just collecting people as ornaments rather than sincerely connecting with people.
Right. I mean, it says a lot about that person and, what kind of depth they have, and what makes them happy. So everyone is different, to each their own, but the people that work with us are looking for a true connection and a true relationship.
Yeah,
So-
they're looking for the real deal. No?
Right.
Awesome. You had something else to add, Ruth?
Oh, I just said people who are looking for the real deal are the ones
Yeah.
Yeah, at
who
our
go to Luma.
exactly.
Definitely, it's important that getting the real deal, because there's there's a lot of people. I think that are you also finding that, because I know that it seems that people during the pandemic there are people which are finding the importance of having at the same time, aside from the online dating culture side, more meaningful relationships, and they're being more thoughtful about things as well. I mean, video dating culture is something new where people are meeting through video dates, and so it's definitely I guess a transformation in terms of how people view themselves in the dating world with the pandemic, and how they're seeing matchmaking services as having an additional choice to be able to, for people who are looking something serious.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people realized the value of connection and relationships even more so during the pandemic, because we were all isolated and realized how much we missed it. So just a little interaction at the grocery store was very meaningful to some people.
Awesome. So what website, April, would people who want to take advantage of your fabulous service professionally, or want to just simply get in your your free database, like what website would they go to?
They just need to go to lumasearch.com and fill out the profile form. And Luma stands for Luxury Matchmaking, so LUMA search, SEARCH.com, and fill out the profile form. If you're interested in potentially being a client, you can set up an appointment to meet with one of the matchmakers, and then she can explain how the programs work and everything, and take it from there.
Awesome. Lumasearch.com. So is there any sort of comments or wisdom or insights you want to share with our viewers, either about Luma Search or any sort of dating challenges they may be finding out there, April?
I really talked about it earlier, and I think the biggest thing is, well, there's 2 big things, and focusing on your values. Write down what is the most important thing to you. I actually did a values assessment. This is one thing that we do with our clients. We'll have them do a personality assessment, and we can have them do a values assessment. And it was, my top values were wisdom and humility. And then I realized, I'm like, these are the 2 things that I really appreciate about my husband. And so, figuring out what your values are up front So then that way you're not bending them and making compromises with people that, yeah, you may like them, you may have what you think is great chemistry, but they're just not right for you ultimately. And then the other thing is the chemistry piece. Give people a chance. A lot of times they're like, well, I know in the first 5 minutes or 2 minutes if I have chemistry or can be with this person. And the thing is, you don't know. People are very complex. And I had an experience one time that I thought was pretty funny and shocking. Is I met this gentleman at a networking event, and he seemed kind of nerdy and quiet and reserved and everything. And then we made plans to meet for coffee. And a couple of weeks later, and we ended up meeting for coffee. And I was going back through my notes because I'm like, is this the same guy? Seriously? Is this the same person? Because the guy that I met for coffee was a lot more confident and, Rico Suave, basically. And so it was just funny because it just took him getting into a different situation, a different environment, and feeling like we had kind of an established communication or relationship already, so he felt a lot more comfortable just on that second interaction. And so I got to see more of who he is. So it's people, just give people a chance, look at, okay, who they are, what kind of person they are. Don't just base it on, oh, if I have that initial chemistry, because you don't know. People, not everyone is going to have that like spark in the lightning bolt. And how many times have you experienced that when it fizzles out really quickly? So it's not indicative of a long-term relationship working out.
Yeah, well, that's definitely an important point, April. I find many people out there, they're looking at instantaneous spark. And if it's not like love at first sight, they say, I don't have chemistry, they cut off. And it's, again, I think that online dating culture, I could just go on POF or Tinder or whatever, and I just find somebody else. And, it becomes like, an instant gratification or just like superficiality. Like, maybe before internet, people are like, when they met somebody, there was more of a value for that, meeting that person rather than just like, oh, I can just go online and get somebody else. I don't have to do this, man. It's just like 10 seconds of an interaction. Awesome. So thank you very much, April, for joining us today in the Etiquette Show and giving you your amazing tips and insight in the online dating world, as well as your amazing matchmaking service, lumasearch.com.
I know. This is awesome. Oh.